Hey guys, it's me, Danny. Now, in my 20s, I thought I knew everything. Couldn't tell me nothing. Then I hit my 30s and I didn't think I knew anything. I wished somebody would have told me something. But now that I'm living in my 40s, I'm real comfortable living this life in the Middle Ages. So I thought I'd get together with a couple of my friends who also are in that same age bracket so that we can have some talks about what I believe are some shared experiences. Now, either you've gone through them, you will go through them, or you know somebody who went through them. It's all about conversation. It's all about community here. So listen. Comment down below if you have anything to say. If you don't, just make sure you subscribe so you know we here every week. Like it if you really just like what's going on, and share it with a friend if you know somebody who could benefit from what's going on. So let's sit back and see what the people have to say.
Okay, so I'm Ronnie Austin. I'm 47. Turning 40 was not hard for me. It wasn't hard. And 50 is not going to be hard for me either. Not going to be hard for me either. And I think primarily because we grew up in that gang era where we lost a lot of people so young. To see 47, I'll be 48 on Saturday. So to see that, thank you. But to see a new age, it's not, no, that's not hard for me because we just lost so many people. And there's still so many young people who are dying. It's truly a blessing to be able to be 47 years old or 48 years old and still have my parents, despite the situation. So, no.
We really did lose a lot of people. Like, we really did come up in the gang era, and there were a lot of people. I really don't talk about that a lot, but I think that, we probably do see death in a different way because so early we lost a lot of people. It was like,
yeah,
we weren't in Compton, but
right. We had our own Compton.
Had a lot of death, a lot of it are early. And I remember not too long ago, my brother had somebody on his page who had just come home from prison, and I was like, he just now getting out. They went to jail when he was like 18, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, even losing that many people to the prison system, like
we lost a lot.
I am very grateful for being the age, because I don't know. I know lots of people who didn't get here from 18 to 22. Like,
yes.
So yeah, that's one I haven't heard yet. But yes. So but happy birthday, because
Thank you.
48 it's exciting though, because you are getting close to 50, and 50 don't look like it did when we were kids.
No. At least we don't think so.
No. I just did a TikTok because I was talking to my friend. I was talking to my best friend, and we were talking about, like, when we were younger and we were watching sitcoms like the Jeffersons and the Brady Bunch and stuff like that.
One day at a time. Yeah.
Everybody threw their back out. Like, that was like a thing. Like,
yes.
It was like, and I don't hear people talking about they threw their back out in such a way now, but like, that was like a huge thing. And if you look back on those shows, those people were like 40. Like,
it's that. Like, oh, walk on my back. That was George Jefferson all the time. Walk on my back.
Episode is like those type of things that you thought would be the concerns of your age group, and they don't even manifest. It's just like, wait a minute. So people don't throw their backs out, because that was supposed to be a huge thing. We were supposed to have flying cars, and our backs were supposed to go out at all times.
Yeah.
We don't got neither one of those.
Neither. Yeah, and I'll take it. I'll stay on the ground.
Like, it's just like so magnificent though that 40 and 50 we really get to see it and live in it, and experience life.
Yes,
all that stuff, and seeing all the.
So I was saying, we were talking about how friendships change and how we change and how you feel like, or how I felt like with friendships, period, you really find out who your friends are. Like I said earlier, whenever you have friends and you're young, it's like everybody's my friend, everybody's cool. And, you fall out and end with friendships constantly. But as you get older and you progress and you mature, in your mind, it's like, why aren't we? You have your friends that you think are your ride or die friends, right? You've been through 5 million things when you were younger together. Then when real life hits, I think really for me, when I started to have kids, you really noticed the difference.
Yeah.
I noticed a major difference. People act like you're handicapped.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. You have kids. Oh, you have too many kids. Da, 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 da.
Yes.
Or, well, how can you go anywhere, or how can you do anything whenever you have these kids? And it's like, to others, it looks like it's a burden. And so you get left out of things where it has nothing to do with kids, has nothing to do with your ability to do things. None of those things. I think for me, I saw a transition then, but I saw a more significant transition whenever my mom got sick. And that's when you really know that you need somebody in your corner. Maybe not necessarily to do something, but to just be present. And not always physically present, but just be present to sometimes listen, let me cry, let me complain, hear me out, or just ask, what's going on with you, just to change the subject altogether.
Yes.
So that you can still have a real life outside of all of the pressures that you're already going through with life and with, your real pressures, your work, your job, if you're in school, if you have children, whatever those other pressures are. Sometimes you just want to have a conversation that's outside of that. Being able to have a circle of people who maybe understand what you're going through. Maybe they don't understand what you're going through, but they're not shunning you or pushing you away. Because, with anything, in the beginning, it's like, oh man, your mom had a heart attack. Oh, how's she doing? How you doing? Can I do anything for you? And at that moment, nobody can really do anything for you other than be there and to support you through it. Or to just hear you say that you don't know what to do. And a lot of times you need something, but you don't know how to verbalize what it is that you need. I found myself doing that a lot, where I was like, I know I need help with something. I just don't know what I need help with. I'm not sure what I need help with. And it could be as simple as providing a meal.
It seemed like it's unfair to ask, because I feel like when my mom got sick and we were in the hospital for days, like I really wanted somebody to like just go over my house and clean up. Like, but I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I could ask that. I didn't feel like I could be like, like when I go home, I don't want to run.
I don't feel like
I don't want to do a dish. I don't like, even if somebody brought me a meal, now I still got the bowl that they brought it in, and it's responsibility. I don't even want to eat but you don't feel like you can say those things. Like, can you just like clean?
Yeah. Where's the safe space?
Yeah.
Where's the safe space? Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Right about talk to me about something other than what I'm dealing with right now, because I need an escape from this. Don't keep on being like, oh, how's your mom? How's your mom? How's your mom? Like a quick update, sure, but I don't want to go into giving all of the medical procedures and things going on. It's a lot and it's overwhelming most of the time. I just want to hear you about some raggedy chick at your job right quick that we've been discussing last month. So I could be like, oh yeah, the regular world real quick.
Yes. Like, oh, I'm still alive. Like, I'm still here. I'm still relevant as a regular person, and kind of to remove the guilt of feeling like I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of us kind of stuff that piece where you feel the guilt yourself for feeling like you don't want to do this, but then you feel the guilt of what will other people think about me as a daughter, as a person, because I don't want to do this. I'm now 4.5 years in, I'm very transparent. I don't want to be a caregiver to anybody.
Mhm.
I don't want no pets. I don't want nothing other than my children who are still minors. Um, I don't want people to depend on me. Give me some time to get back to the giving, Ronnie. Because right now, any little thing when people are like, oh, can you? I'm like, oh.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. Do you
Yes.
not know how much of me I give to the point where I literally ran into somebody from middle school. And this was like months after my mom had the heart attack. And during that time, I was in the hospital constantly, like literally trying to work from the hospital. People are like, you should go home. I'm like, I need to know what's going on with her. I can't leave. I need to advocate for her. Like there was just, it was just straight mayhem. And at that time, I really was losing who I was. I'm still not quite sure who I am right now. Like every once in a while, I find a little spurt and I'm like, oh yeah, that felt good. I remember when. But then you go back into your other real world.
Yes.
So I ran into somebody from Rajasthan. Um, and I mean, we were close friends, back in the day. And he was like, oh, what you doing with yourself? And I literally, it made me freeze for a second because I was like, this is somebody who knew me, knew the old me, and I'm not even sure who that person is anymore. And I was like, oh, work, my kids, my mom. And he was like, and I was like, yeah. He was like, wait a minute, that's it? Like, that's all I had time for. He said, absolutely not. Absolutely. You cannot continue to live your life like that. Like, where do you make time for yourself? And I, at the time, didn't realize. I was like, I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
That was the truth. And to admit that to somebody who knew me before was kind of like, oh man, yeah, who am I? It made me step back and realize, like, yeah, I don't even know who I am anymore. What is going on with me? It didn't change anything. I still, for the most part, continued on the same track of, work, my mom, my kids, my kid playing sports and like that pretty much. And people are like, oh, you need to take a break from your son. My son playing sports is what saves me.
Mm-hmm.
My children doing activities, that's what saves me. That's what keeps me sane and what keeps me normal. It reminds me that there are other people in the world who need me for other things. And, not to put guilt like on my mother because she can't control what's happening to her. But there's a piece where you're like, I literally was choosing my mom even over my kids. And until my daughter, who had been like my rider, like my oldest daughter, of course, was my rider with my mom. She's running back and forth to the hospital. But my daughter, who was at home, who's the oldest amongst them, one day was like, you're never here. What about us? And that for me was like, oh my God, I've neglected my kids, which is the one thing I would never want to do. So that piece was hard to come to terms with that. And it was almost like I'm debating with a kid, like, that's my mom though. But that's my mom. I have to be there for my mother. Like, you guys are pretty good. You're self-sufficient. When in reality, they're not because they're kids and they still needed me. But at the time, it was like, Nana needs me right now. Nana needs me. And I need to be there for her. Excuse the phone. But that was the hard part. That was a really difficult piece for me, where I was like almost having to choose who needs me most.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs me most? And then it got to the point where, like, my mom had started to get better. Things were, on an upswing. And I had to, then she became dependent on me. And the expectation was that I was to do XYZ for her, when in reality, at that time, she could do a lot more for herself. And then I was kind of angry, like, you expect me to do all, like, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. Now you expect for me to do this stuff for you when you could do things for yourself. I said, my kids need me. That's my responsibility. That's my responsibility over everything else in the world. They always come first. They're supposed to come first. So then it was like a battle between my emotions, my internal feelings, and what I think that my mom was feeling. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of battles. We just go through a lot when you're in the sandwich generation, because that's what we are. When you have children to take care of, you have families that you still need to take care of, but then you have parents that you need to take care of as well. You are literally smashed between both of those worlds, and having to figure it out and trying to choose where you're supposed to go is like a difficult task, and especially when we lack the supports. And I know there has to be supports in our community for us. There has to be somewhere. It's finding those resources. That's the problem.
And that will make you feel guilty for even wanting to reach out for support. It's always like the expectation. Again, I've had conversations with a lot of women, and one of the things that always hold us is this superwoman, black woman complex that we have been, especially our generation has really been drilled in, that you got to be a superwoman and you should be able to handle everything and you got it, and push yourself to the back to make sure everybody's okay, and you just put through, and you don't feel bad, you like feel guilty if you feel bad, and be humble and all of these things. And it's like, but I'm drowning. I'm literally drowning over here, and because I'm drowning, I like, why can't I ask for any type of help? And I wanted to touch back on the guilt part of not wanting to be a caregiver. I feel like a lot of times people put the guilt on you to take care of the person that they know and not the person that like there's a difference between my mom's friends and my mom's daughter, and people are concerned with their friend being taken care of, or their sister, or their cousin, or but not, they don't know who the mom was. And sometimes you're like, it's a lot over here. Okay.
And they'll say, oh, but that's your mom. You only get one. I know.
And sometimes
but I also only get one of me.
Yes. And there is a guilt, and that is why you can't say, even to my closest friends, when I was just like, I don't want to do this. It was like, me and my family, we always took everybody in. I'm like, yes, but all y'all argue and fight all the time because y'all angry, and you don't even know you angry because somebody in your family don't want to do it either. And
they just didn't say it yet.
Say it, but it come out in all these other kind of ways. It is not easy to do. There is not the kind of support. And if you're the main person who is the caregiver, the rest of the people just seem like, well, all you got to do is make her a little dinner, or all you got to do is just take her to the store, or all you got to do. Yes, but like, especially you, because your children are younger. It's like, yes, but I also have to run these kids over here, and I got to participate in this, and I got to be a parent in this program, and I got to make sure they have this dress or this shoe or this thing. And then I got to, get them there on time. I got to sit and watch it. I got to cheer them on. I got to pull up the energy to do all of that. And I have been trying to work on my book about one of the hardest things to do is to be a mom when your heart is breaking. It is not easy to have to cook dinner when your kids require that, but your heart is breaking from whatever is going on. When I am on meltdown and I don't have the space and opportunity to actually melt down, and these kids need dinner, they need a new coat. It's like you want to just be in your room like, how many more things? Because I cannot. I can't. And nobody wants you to be like, nobody wants to hear you say, okay, let me just be honest. I don't like when people say nobody. The people closest to you that you think should be supporting you do not give you the space to say, I don't even want to be a mom today. I don't want these kids here. I don't want my mother. I don't want the responsibility of any of this. If I could just be honest, I just want to be on a beach, worried about nobody, but myself. And I really don't even want to be worried about myself. I want somebody to be worried about me.
About me. Right. Exactly. Let me just be.
Let
And
me
that's it. I'm
be.
not asking for nothing. Not
I don't
asking for nothing.
I
I got my
don't
bottle of water at this beach and I'm cool. That's
that's
it.
it. Because people really do make it hard to say this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, they're like, but that's your mom. And I love her.
Like, I don't know that.
I love her and I get that, but why can't I say this is too much? Why can't I say that? Why is it your responsibility to try to remind me of something that I know is my responsibility?
Absolutely.
And sometimes I can't, I just don't want it. I know that
Or you hear, you're complaining.
especially from
I'm
people who have
complaining.
parents, it's like, oh, you're complaining. If I had my mom today, and it's like two things can be
You
true.
would be complaining too.
Two things can be true. You miss your parent, and I get that. But not only do I miss my parent, because this lady ain't the same lady from last year,
Right.
but I also miss me. I miss
Right.
kids. I miss a relationship if I had one. I miss looking for one if I didn't. Like,
Yep.
it's a lot, it's a lot of things I miss in this stage, and
In the
nobody
midst of it. Yep.
you don't hear a lot of conversation about that, especially from women. I feel like, especially from women in our age group, it just kind of seemed like anytime that people hit 40, you start hearing about like, oh, I'm liberated, I'm free, I'm doing all these things, but it's just like, no, I sometimes feel really lost in this space because there's so much transitioning happening. Your kids are teenagers, you're trying to figure out yourself, now your mother is sick and you have to, and there's no way to prepare for that. You can't be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, when I hit 45, then I'll prepare for my mom getting sick, or when I hit
Yep.
49, you don't know when that's going to happen. And that thing is so sudden, it really does take over life. It takes over when you have to spend. How many days were you at the hospital with your mom? Do you remember?
To the point where my job was at jeopardy.
Okay.
Literally to the point where, I had probably a caseload of 60 people that were seniors that I was responsible for. And I could barely get my work done because I would take my laptop to the hospital. But then you're at the hospital and they're coming in for this test and they're coming in after test. They're asking this question and that question. When's the last time she did this? And when's the last time you saw her baseline and this and that? And you're like trying to answer questions. You're trying to do your work and then you're looking at the clock because you got to pick up your kids. When I tell you, I literally would go from my house, drop off all my children, go to the hospital, be there all day. At the end of the day, work day, I would leave there, go back, pick up all my kids, take them home, fix something to eat real quick, take my son to football practice, sit there because I was too scared to leave him at football practice by himself because he could get injured. So I would sit there at football practice, which is about 3 hours, do work still, go home, get them in order, and I'd shoot to the hospital and stay there till about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And then I would come home, go to bed and start it all over again the next day. So literally I'm eating on the road. I have enough time at home literally to take a shower, go to sleep for a couple hours, and then just start fresh again the next day. And you have people say, you need to go home. Well, there's nothing you could do there. There's questions that I can answer here. And the thing of it is when you do go home, like now I'm to the point of she goes into the hospital, I do go home. But guess what they do? Call you at 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, scare you half to death. They're like, hi, is this Renee? I'm calling in regard. And you're like dying because you're like, did something happen? And then that big whelm of guilt comes over you that I wasn't there. And you're getting ready to tell me something crazy that I don't really want to hear. And how am I going to process within that little bit of few seconds? You literally think something happened. I'm guilty because I wasn't there. How am I going to process this? How do I tell my kids? How do I keep myself together enough where I'm not screaming through the house and scare everybody half to death? All within, oh, well, there's nothing wrong. That's the first thing you should have told me. Please tell me that first.
Start there.
So, I mean, when she had her heart attack in August of 2018, I don't think I really came out of the hospital with my mom until maybe October-ish, whenever she came home for a while, and my mom's sister came to town to visit, and she took over a lot of it. But then when she left and went back to California, it was right back on again after that. And it has been a very slippery up and down slope. I mean, it's like being on the steepest, deepest, waviest roller coaster possible for months, like never getting off. You're just never really truly off of the roller coaster, never off the roller coaster. You know, you have these
That
spurts.
when I tell you that phone call, I got to a point where I was just letting them go to voicemail and then reading the voicemail, because I was so afraid that while I was at home, somebody was going to call me and say, she ain't
We're
here.
sorry. Yeah, we're sorry. We did everything we can.
Every call. And you're right. It is literally maybe like a minute, maybe a minute and a half of the most panic internally, and you don't even hear most of what they first start saying, because you're like, get I know she did, I know she did, I know she did.
Yeah.
And you're like, let me just prepare my mind, get your mind together, because they're gonna say it. And then you hear nothing.
Mhm.
Then you get an anger, because you're like, well, why didn't you
Yeah.
start there? You know, we in critical times. Why didn't you start there? But I can't
Right.
ask this lady out on the phone giving me information. And
Yes.
mama's there. It is such a roller coaster of emotion in
Mhm.
2 minutes. And it keeps happening, because every time you go home, you get a call like at least once a day, but you're gonna get
Yes.
annoyed at that, and you're just in these mini panics all day.
Oh,
And then
yep.
that all transfers to everybody else all day, because how do you come down from that easily? It's
Yeah. I don't think you do.
it's
You
you
know, for me, it's a trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. And eventually, physically, that affects us.
Yes.
You know, that affects us. You know, how you look, how you feel, how you present yourself, your character starts to change. Like everything about you is starting to get altered
Mhm.
based on these mini traumas that become a huge trauma at some point. You know, it's like a significant thing.
It just always happens that I feel like when I hear like people in their 50s and their 60s, and they start talking about how they care less about the smaller things, and like they're not afraid to say no and all things. I feel like all of these factors are what contribute to that, because
Absolutely.
it's not just a shift where just I don't know what happened. It's because you hit about 40, and you've had so many experiences, especially if you have like these, like you said, these traumas that happen, and then you've been a parent, or you've been a caregiver in some way, and then you turn around and you're just like, you know what, that thing you're talking about, that's small. I don't care.
Yeah. And how does that affect? It doesn't. We're good. We're good.
It's okay.
It is.
I think that's how that shift happens, because when you have to go through these traumas, because I know other people who are not caregivers, even if they have parents who are, considered medically needy in some way, they're not the caregiver, they don't have the same attitude, because they don't understand that type of stress. But I think it's the same as people who don't have children. When you talk about like, I have to do this thing, and they're just kind of like, why don't you just get a so and so to do it? And it's like, well, because my children, the effect on my children if I don't show up to this thing, or I know it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but I think it's all the same, where it's just like you really don't understand
Uh-huh.
this trauma. I feel like if you don't have that call from the hospital all the time, there is no way to identify with that fear. But the people who have experienced it, it's like anytime you say it, I can see like that look on your face. You can still feel it, trying to breathe, even talking about it.
Yes.
It's like you try to still get that breath in, because it's like you are in a space where you spend a lot of time holding your breath, because you're just like, every time a doctor come in the room, you don't know what they're going to tell you, and you're just like, oh, here they come. Even if you're phone, I'll call you back, because here come the doctor, because I don't know what they about to tell me. You never know. It is a constant state of anxiety for months, because even when they come home, every time they move, and that's why I did what I did with my kids, because it's like every time they move, it's like, are you good? Is this time? Should I call emergency? Should I get you to the hospital? Or and you're afraid to feed them things, you're afraid to drink, let them drink anything. Somebody want to go somewhere, it's like, oh, can you go? Like, can you go outside by yourself? It's not.
It's like one day they're your parents, and then it's the next day the hospital is handing you this brand new baby that you didn't have 9 months to prepare for.
100%.
I didn't have 9 months to prepare. Literally, my mom walked out of the house. She was saying that she wasn't feeling good. She was having pains in her chest and a whole nine. We zip over. For her to say she wanted to go to the emergency room, we knew something wasn't quite right, because my mom just was one of those people who didn't get sick. So when she said, maybe I should, if you're saying that, then we're definitely going to go. Lo and behold, my mom literally got herself dressed that day, put her lipstick on. She wasn't feeling great. Went to the hospital, walked in on her own, was in the process of having heart attacks, right? They're like, oh, you had a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. From that day that my mom had her open heart surgery on, she hasn't been the same person. She has not been the same person. She walked in there independently and almost crawled back home, from that. I mean, hooked up to machines. I mean, when I tell you, so much has happened, it's hard to even remember. Like, I'll look back at pictures and I'm like, I forgot about that. I forgot that they put a PICC line in. I forgot that they had a catheter in her neck. I forgot that they, did this surgery and this, do her leg and this and that. I forgot I had to wash her up. Mm-hmm. One of the most humbling things is when you have to physically give your parent a shower. Mom, is it okay? Are you okay with me washing you up here? Because you know that they can't handle it. It needs to be done, but you don't want to degrade them or embarrass them, because you're the child in the situation, but you're caring for them as if you're the parent, and a lot of things my mom doesn't remember from when she was significantly ill then, when she started to come back around to being more normal. And I would say, Mom, do you remember when da-da-da? And we'll be joking. I'd be like, girl, you can't talk about me because I had to change your butt, just joking. It's real, but it was like in the joke text. And she'd be like, get out of here. You ain't never changed my butt. And you're like stuck, like, no, seriously, I really did. You don't remember that? She's like, what? Yeah. Yes. For real. That really had to happen. And we've showed her videos from when she was sick, and the expression and the look on her face is just like, whoa, where was I mentally that I don't remember this? I see that this is happening, and I see how I'm talking and how I look, but it's like, that's not even me. And you're looking like, yeah, this was you. You don't remember that? And they don't remember, I have my mom, like, when they told me, so probably she had a heart attack 2018, and I'm sure, just reading up on dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that, traumas hit, which now I'm like, I better reduce some of these traumas because I don't want to have dementia. But traumas are a significant factor in your mental status decline, right? And with that, I'm looking back at some of the things that happened. That heart attack was very traumatic. The loss of independence was very traumatic for my mother. Having to give away her car keys because she can no longer handle a motor vehicle. And she thought that she could. But so many things were happening that I was like, legally, I couldn't take her keys away from her and say, you can't drive anymore. It would have had to come from a doctor to take her driver's license away. And the doctor was like, well, really, because she hasn't had this infraction and that infraction, she can still drive. And I'm looking like, no,
You should not be on the
she cannot.
road.
Like, what are you, doctor? No offense to the work that you've done and your years of expertise. However, common sense should supersede your years of studying. How do you tell somebody who has driven from McDonald's to her house hundreds of times, from one neighborhood to her neighborhood, literally hundreds of times? She's with my son. She goes past her street to turn on to go to her house, goes to the Giant Eagle that she's used to going to, turns around there and comes back so she can remember how to get home. My son got to me. He said, Mom, Nana went all the way to Giant Eagle, turned around and came back down and then could remember. He said, because I told her, Nana, you missed the street. And she said, oh, no, that's okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking that happened more than once. That has happened multiple times. I just wasn't aware of it. But my son was there to witness it and was able to verbalize that to me. And for the doctors to say, oh, no. I'm like, so she has to kill herself or kill somebody else in order for you to say she shouldn't drive anymore? Can we be proactive here?
And
literally, I was like, yeah, we're done.
Thing is very frustrating because my mom had a very quick progression. Her dementia came quick. Like she was literally went to lunch with her friends one day and then woke up that night, said she couldn't breathe. We went to the hospital. She had a heart attack, and we have been different ever since. But legally she was allowed to still be the person to make decisions for herself, although she didn't even know where she was, what she was doing. I had to get guardianship over my mother. But for it was like a good year, I wasn't allowed to really make any decisions for her, but
Right.
she can't make decisions. And so we were in a limbo because my mom, they would say things like, oh, we're going to run a test. And she would be like, oh, I'm not getting no test. And I would be like, you getting the test. And they're like, well, if she doesn't want the test.
And you're like, wait a minute, wait. I know people have the right to choose, but when they're cognitively incoherent, and I don't mean unconscious, I mean cognitively incoherent, you cannot make reasonable decisions for yourself. You see that she's not making reasonable decisions for herself, and that's okay because she has the right to choose.
She is the guardian of herself, her person. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because one of the things, and I try, it's hard for me sometimes to be like, I know what you feeling because I didn't have a slow progression. The other problem was my mom was an alcoholic, and when she got sick the very first time was well, that's not true. My mom was an alcoholic and depression was really starting to take over. So I told her that I wanted her to come move into the house with me. But one of the stipulations was she can't drink here. We don't drink here. And so she started to, come down. But, with an addiction, you don't get clean the first couple of months or the first year. You just starting to sober up a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
One of the things when she first got sick was, like you said, when they're asking about a baseline, and I was like, yo, I don't even know what the baseline is. I don't.
Like, when do you want me to, how far back do you want me to go to find a baseline? Because what you're asking me for is impossible.
I don't know what the baseline. I don't know. She just stopped drinking. Like my mom, I think my mom had been living with me maybe 2 years before she got sick. But the first year she was still sneaking and trying to go, get little mini bottles, and she was like drinking outside, or she would go somewhere with her friend and have a drink. And I was like, Mom, I'm so serious. Like, you're not gonna be able to do this. But when my mom got sick, it was like right at the beginning of COVID. Nobody was looking for COVID. So there's a belief that she had COVID, and the trauma from the COVID accelerated her dementia. So
Mm-hmm.
some things that she would do, I didn't know to look for them and think that they were dementia. I thought it was because her mom, was trying to dry out from the alcohol. So my mom,
Right.
the year before at Thanksgiving, she took the turkey out the freezer and she put it in the sink to defrost, but she made dishwater. So it was in a thing of sudsy water. Now it was still in the package and everything, but she had got the water because her mom equated the sink with doing dishes, but
Yeah.
initially she was trying to defrost the turkey. So when I came in, it's a bunch of bubbles and a turkey. And I
Yes,
was
yes.
like, what's going on here? And she was like, oh, well, you like getting defensive. And then I remember one time we went to the store and I was telling her, when we go in the store, don't forget that you were looking for such and such. And she snapped, you're not the boss of me. I know what I'm doing. And at the time, I was just like, okay, attitude. But now I know that she knew that there were
You
some
know.
things starting to forget,
Yeah.
and she getting upset because she thought maybe I started to see it. I remember
Mm-hmm.
there was a time when my mom got herself together to go to the doctor, and then she came home. Like I was like, you want me to go with you? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, cool. And she came back home like quick. And I was like, that was fast. Like, how you get home so quick? And she was like, oh, yeah, I wrote it down wrong. So she went on the wrong day. And I figured that out later, and it was these small things that now I know were signs, but because I didn't know what a baseline is, my mom has always been spacey, but she's always also been drunk. So I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
if,
Right.
if she was spacey because that's her personality, or is she drinking, or now is it because dementia is coming. I didn't know what was happening. So literally she went in, she was sick. We were there for 7 days. 11 days. She came home, and then I can't remember now if it was the next day or 2 days, but it was no more than 2 days. We was right back with the same issue. And after that, she never came. Like my mother never came back. There is a woman
Mm-hmm.
whose name is Pam that I help to take care of now, but my mother
That's not.
never came back.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that. And it's funny that now you look back, those things were happening before you knew that they
Mhm.
were happening. Literally, my daughter and I were talking, and I was like, remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? Those are all little signs that this was happening. We just didn't know. We're just thinking, oh, you just forgot. And like you said, my mom was a bit spacey too. Just stuff where you be like, that doesn't even make sense. Why did you do that?
Yes.
And she'd be like, oh, I don't even know. And to us, it was nothing because that's just Nana. That's just who my mom was, right? Her ambulation being off. That's just how my mom was, not knowing that these are all little snippets and signs that we just missed. Um, so I feel you whenever you say, like, you feel like she went to sleep one day, woke up, and it's somebody else. Because I can remember sitting at my mom's dining room table. We were talking about a family reunion that we were going to go to, and it was extended family. So my mom was talking about extended family members' children, and she kept putting them in this text that just did not make sense. And I was like, why are you saying that? I was like, that's not his daughters. Why are you saying that? But she's like, yeah, yes, it is. And I'm like, oh, she's not joking. You're really serious with what you're saying. And I was like, that's so bizarre. I don't know why she's saying that. That was weird. Brought it up to my daughter. She was like, yeah, that she's something weird to me too the other day. But we just blew it off like nothing. And I really feel like when she had the heart attack, that skyrocketed everything. Her being very sick, going into having to have the PIC line in and the catheter here and in and out of the hospital, this doctor, that doctor, this doctor, that doctor. I think those things, and then two, I took on a lot of things for her. Oh, I'll do that, Mom. You rest. I'll do this. I'll do that. And by me doing those things, that kind of stole her independence without me know. I'm thinking I'm helping her when in reality, it was kind of taking away her independence. But those were things that I saw that I felt that she couldn't really do right now for herself. She wasn't strong enough to do these things right at this moment, for herself. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough.
I wonder now, for me, I notice like when I'm talking to my friends, I will advise them, like, I know you think that this thing is small, but you probably should talk to your parents about, if these things happen, what would you like for me to do? Because like we know now, there have been little signs, and signs, because we didn't know to look for them. Now I always try to encourage my friends to be like, I know that sound like it's nothing, and I might sound crazy because of what I went through, but like, talk to your parent, because if something happens, you can't have the conversation later to be like, so what do you want me to do now? Because they don't know. They don't even know things are happening, and so
Right.
would you suggest, that like with the smaller things, to start speaking to your parents about, like, this? I know you don't want to talk about this, but
It's important.
maybe we should just address, because we hear so much time about people talking about, maybe preparing if you lose a parent, or how it feels if you lose a parent. But when your parents have dementia,
You lose your parent, but they're here.
And that is one of the hardest things. I say all the time, like, again, Pam is here, but my mom is not here. And it's hard to tell people, like, I lost a parent, because people who have physically lost a parent don't understand this, because I lost a parent and I have to prepare to lose a parent. Like, that thing, because again, you never really know, and once they have dementia, you never really know how much longer they have, because it accelerates a lot of other things. And I just feel like, is there anything that you would advise people in our age bracket to maybe discuss with their parents? There's something that you wish you had a discussion about? Not, of course, we didn't know that we should have, but now know. Is there anything you wish that you had discussed with her about finances, or even, if you have a third or a seventh or a fifth heart attack, what do you want me to do? Or or is there anything like that that you wish that you had discussed, or that you could advise people to discuss?
I would say the first thing to discuss would be, what is their wishes? What is it that you want me to do? I did ask my mom. So even after her heart attack, and she was able to make some decisions, like for herself, there was some clarity. She was exhausted, but there was some clarity there, where I said to her, I said, hey, while you're clear, and I literally said it like, while you're clear in your mind, I need to know what it is you want. Because the first thing the hospital asks you is, do you want your mother or father to be resuscitated? Is there a DNR? As the child, I don't care how old you are, as the child of this person, answering that question is one of the most difficult questions you will answer, because that part makes me a little emotional. When you say it's DNR, you are literally saying, let my parent die. That's what it is. You have to know what your parent wants. My mother was a nurse for years.
Okay.
She's always said, I do not want to be on a ventilator. Don't do that to yourself, and don't do it to me. She said, I've watched kids suffer looking over their parent who's their body physically turns to like mush, because you lose your muscle mass. knowing that their parent cannot live without this machine, with the hopes that their parent will come back. When in reality, if your parent were to come back, heart beating on its own, what kind of life will they have? Because now they are mush. They don't know how to use any of their muscles. They don't know how to eat on their own. They can't drink on their own. Their heart may beat, but it may beat faintly. So for me, when we filled out my mom's power of attorney paperwork, that question is on there. And you have to write that down on that paper. I wrote everything out and I got there and I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. I looked around the table. I looked at my brother, my daughter, and my sister-in-law, and I said, I can't write this. I cannot write those 3 letters. It's 3 letters, D-N-R, 3 letters. I said, I can't write that. I can't. It's like I'm signing my mom's life away, and I can't be the person to do that part. And my sister-in-law works in the field with seniors, and she was like, I'll do it for you. And I was like, somebody else has to do it because I can't do that part. I could do everything else. I could fill out everything else. I just can't fill that piece out. Every time your parent goes into the hospital, they are going to call you randomly and give you a heart attack.
Yes.
And in the midst of that conversation, they're going to ask you, I hate to ask you this, but we ask all patients who come into the hospital this question. And before they can even get there, I'm like, it's DNR. Please don't ask me again. I say, and I always say too, as her child, I don't agree. As a human being, I totally agree because that's what my mom's wishes are. And I know that because of her, how weak her heart is, if you were to do CPR on her, you're doing more harm to my mom. Just if her heart goes, let her be at peace. I want her to pass peacefully. I don't want you breaking her ribs in the process. I don't want you breathing in her mouth and you bring her back and her heart is faint. Now she's more damaged and injured and in pain than she would have been had you let her just go in peace. Ask your parents that. That's my biggest thing is ask them, what do they want? And then be really honest with yourself. And know what you can handle, because you may do that. And then if your mom had a heart attack, did she have to have open heart surgery?
No, she did not have open heart surgery. She actually didn't have any surgeries that I remember, but she went into a coma. And so we had the coma for a very long time, because I remember at one point coming into the hospital going, how long do we do this? Because I was just like, we just coming in here looking at her. She is not responding to anything. How long do we keep her in this way? And I had the feeling of today, I have the feeling of the guilt of telling them to bring her back for when the third heart attack she had. After the second one, they were saying, like, what do you want us to do if she has another heart attack? And my brother and my mom's sister were like, 100% tell them to do all the work that they have to do, all the work they have to do. Every time that they brought her back, she was worse, mentally worse. And now she don't walk. She doesn't eat food. She literally eats no food. They had to put a pick in, and that is the only way, the feeding tube in, and that's the only way she gets any nutrients. My mom has been in a nursing home since 2020. My mom has no clue what year it is. She has no clue that she's been in a nursing home for 2 years. She doesn't have a clue that she's in a nursing home. A lot of days she just thinks she at work. Like, she does not know she's here, in a way that I feel like I don't hold guilt for holding her here for people who, just to be honest, they don't go visit her. And so I held her here for people who,
and you all aren't even here.
And y'all aren't here. And I feel so bad because I kept her here to have nothing like the life she had before. And I still wait for the calls. I still wait for the calls of
she, I still get the calls that she fell. Well, she's really not eating and she's dropped more pounds. And it is
devastating.
And so I got the call because I have total guardianship over my mother. I got the call where they wanted to know again, and we just had this call maybe like a week ago about, we need to revisit the DNR, what should we do? And in my mind, I know that it made sense, but it was really hard to say it. And so I'm thankful for her facility. She's in a good facility, and I'm thankful for her facility, for the staff being like, I know you don't want to say this. And all I kept saying was, my fear is if I say, do everything, who gonna come back now? Because her numbers are so low right now. What really will I bring back? The possibility of having them bring back even less than who she is today, just for maybe they can, but then what if I don't even get who she is today? I sat there for about 10 minutes, and then they said, well, let's all just be honest. We have had extreme traumas every time that your mom has gone to the hospital and they had to resuscitate her, and maybe just for the quality of life, it would make sense to do a DNR. And I was just like, well, if everybody, because you also feel guilty, like you said, you're telling all these people, and it sounds like you're saying like, let her go, you're just like, it looks bad. I'm the child. I shouldn't tell people, right? Like, you're like, you want to be in the room, like, right. I shouldn't say this. Right.
But you say it.
Like,
you say it.
You tell me. So, and then I just nod. You tell me to do it, and then I'll just be like, well, if you say do it, then. But they're waiting for you to say it, and And it is very hard. And that too, having to talk to like who you feel like are your spaces, to be like, I had to sign a DNR for my mom today. People are just like, oh, that sounds rough. And it's just like, no. There is a thing all the way from my toes that is eating me up. And I want to scream and holler, but there's nowhere to scream and holler at. And you feel like you said, I just signed a paper that said she won't be back.
And it's like, that's and to be clear for people to understand, DNRs do not resuscitate, meaning no CPR, no life-sustaining anything. It's literally, they go into this heart attack, their heart stops, and they back off until it completely stops, and then they give you the time that the person has passed away. And this is the person that's known you longer than you've known yourself. Nobody has known you as long as your mom. Not even your dad. Your mother.
Them extra 9.
Listen, you were inside of her body. Her body is what kept you alive, what kept you warm, what kept you protected. How do you say? And then what happens whenever, so initially, when my mom had that heart attack, the initial heart attack, and we were in an emergency room, and she was, like I said, she walked out her house, lipstick on, got herself dressed, earrings in, did her hair, whole 9. So she was clear. They asked her that in the hospital, and she said, well, and at that moment, my response to that well, and then my daughter's response to the well, is what made my mom say, do CPR. I know for a fact, my mom, that's not what she wanted from the door. But because I broke down in that moment, like, Mom, what do you mean? What about us? So selfish.
Yeah.
When you think about it, such a selfish statement to say to somebody about what they want done with their life. I said, what about us? You're okay with just leaving us here? Like, I'm grown. I have 4 kids. My daughter at the time was grown. My brother's grown. My nephews are grown. To say that, and that's why she made that decision. Okay, yes, we'll just do. And then once she got, like I said, the heart attack thing was one thing. I don't know. So to go to the hospital, see somebody after they have a heart attack, there's more tubes and cords and wires and machines and stuff hooked up. You can't even lean in to give this person a kiss because there's cords and there's wires and there's machines beeping, all different types of beeps. And every beep that went off, I'm literally like, what does that mean? What does this mean? And I'm trying to think of ER to show and all the hospital shows are trying to.
You get a mini medical degree. You get a mini medical degree.
I always say people should call me Dr. Austin after this. Yes. Seriously, because I'm going in and I'm saying she has shuffling gait and she's unstable on her feet and she's had tachycardia and they're like, are you in the medical field? I'm like, no, I absolutely despise the medical field. I would never go into the medical field. Years ago, getting my education, I've never been interested in medical anything. I've never liked the hospital. I don't really care to be around sick people, period. Not that kind of sick where you could just drop, where I'm like, that's just never been my thing at all. That's always been like a fear for me. And to be standing in the midst of all of this and attempting to make a decision. And like you said, you have a brother and you have an aunt. And the same thing for me. I have to keep in mind, what would my brother want in a snap moment where I don't have time to call him and say, hey, let's talk about XYZ. You don't have time. You don't have time to talk about those things. You have to make a snap decision real fast. And in those snap decisions, am I making the right decision?
Yep.
That's your thought. And there's so much pressure and there's so much guilt that comes from that. Do you know what I mean? And then, like you said, your mom is in a nursing facility. I have to make the decision now. She has 24 hours care. And I think a lot of times, like she goes into the hospital and they're like, well, she has 24 hours care. Yeah, but we're sending her home to non-medical people. Not that they're not good at what they do, because they're excellent. A lot of them are excellent at what they do. However, they are still not medical professionals. So me saying, hey, you need to make sure my mom goes to the bathroom and get her brief changed every 2 hours or empty her bladder every 2 hours may not happen, because guess what? Jackie might be like, nope.
Yep.
I'm not doing it. I'm not taking my meds today, because that's where we are now. We're not taking meds. My mom has significant heart medication. She has diabetes medication. She has all kinds of meds. And it's like, where do I maintain my patience after I've been at work all day and I work with the public and people who may be in need or may be in crisis, and I've dealt with a lot of crises through the day, or other people who may need things, and then the school's calling because, oh, this paper needs to be signed, or this person was late to class, or this or that, or mom, I have football practice, I have cheerleading practice, I need to do this, and we're getting ready for college, and you have all this tugging and pulling on you all at one time, and now you don't want to take your meds? Really? Or the workers calling, hey, your mom's refusing to take her meds. I can't get your mom to move from the dining room table. I can't get your mom out of the bed. She doesn't want to get up, or she won't let me change her. I can't get her washed up. And you're just like, I want to say, stop calling me.
Yes.
Stop calling me. I don't know what to tell you. What do you want me to do? I can't not go to work and come here and do this right now. So now it's to the point where I'm like, if she refused meds, circle back around in 10 minutes and make it like it's her idea. Oh, Miss Jackie, remember you said you wanted me to get your meds? Well, here they are. Try that. It might work, it might not. I don't know. I can't guarantee you. And every time I come to her, she's a different person. Everybody's like, oh, how's your mom? And it's like,
I don't know. I don't know. And nobody wants to hear that. I don't know.
No.
Oh, she is.
What do you mean you don't know? You haven't been over there? Well, aren't you talking to the doctors? Well, you need to call this doctor and that doctor and this doctor and that doctor and take her to this appointment and that appointment. Well, what do you mean? Well, has she had a bath? Has she had a shower? Has she had her hair washed? What do you mean you can't take her up the steps or down the steps or here?
Mm-hmm.
Literally last Monday, I drop off all of my children for school. I get all the way to work. I'm just getting ready to get settled. And I get a text message that the other worker called off because her mom is sick. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew that her mother was sick. We've talked about this before. So now I'm an empath, period. So I feel what the worker is feeling about her mother. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, you got to go and do what you got to do for your mom. Oh, guess what? Now I'm in crisis because I have to work. I'm supposed to be leaving work to go do what I have to do for now my mother, because there's nobody to do that. And I think a lot of times people forget that piece where it's like, I still have a responsibility and an obligation to my job. I need to be here because guess what? If I don't work, nobody eats. No bills are paid. Yes. We don't sustain living without me working, right? So now it's like, oh my God, I know the list of responsibilities I have for work that I needed to accomplish for the day, but now I have to leave and go do what I need to do for my mother, which means get her out the bed, get her washed up, get her dressed, get her breakfast. But I'm still supposed to be in this Zoom meeting at the same time. I'm supposed to still be in a supervision.
She don't know to be quiet when I turn this computer on. She doesn't know, she don't care. Not even that she don't care. She don't know that she should care.
Right. Hey, Renee,
yes.
And you're like in a meeting, like, excuse me, 1 minute.
Mm-hmm. And when my mom got sick, like I said, it was right at the beginning of COVID. So there was a good couple of months where I couldn't even see her. The hospitals were shut down. I couldn't.
Right.
And when I got back to when they were like, well, we could do some visits. Well, literally, that's not true. I didn't see my mom until they called me. They told me, we have done everything we could do for her here. There's nothing else that we can do. They moved my mom to a different hospital. They sent her to the brain center. The brain center was like, there ain't nothing we could do. We don't know. And the next time I saw my mom was in the nursing home because they called me one day and was like, there's nothing else we could do for her. Do you want us to have her come to your house? I don't even know, who are you sending? Who?
Right.
At that point, they were like, she can't walk. She barely talks. She can't do it. And I was just like, I haven't even seen her. Like, they weren't doing Zooms then. They weren't doing anything. She just literally was gone. There was a part of me that literally lost my mother because COVID, I couldn't do anything. So when they called him, was just like, do you want to bring her home? I was just like, the reason why she ended up in the nursing home is because I don't know who you're sending here. I don't know how
and
much.
Can you handle her?
I don't know how
so
much.
So they're sending her.
I can't. There was no assessment. I'm just going off of somebody another person on the phone who I've never seen, just being like, well, she can walk 20 steps. Her room is upstairs. How do I get her there? I like what? And so I was just like, I can't bring her home. I have to go to work. I can't bring her home. And the only other people who were here were my two boys. I was just like, I can't leave my boys to watch their grandma. Like,
and then what do they do in a crisis that we would panic in?
And they're my oldest son, I think, he just turned 20. The other one was 19. I'm going to make this 20 and 19-year-old boys, young men, wash up their grandma, worry about when she's eating, make sure she's eating, the report in. Like, they don't know any of this. They don't know report in. How many times did she use the bathroom? Did she use the bathroom? Go wash your grandma, wipe your grandma's butt. Like, what? what are we talking about? And so I was just like, she has to go to a facility. When people heard that I was going to send her to a facility, it was like I said that I was going to put her up against the wall and Valentine's Day message. And everybody was just like, you're going to leave her. And I was like, this is the first point of relief that I've had. Y'all don't even understand, because when she's in the hospital, I never know if they're saying it's getting worse, it's getting better. When they told me she was going to the nursing home, it was, for me, it felt like they had said we had hit a plateau.
Yes, like she's actually stable enough to leave here. It's safe for her to leave here. And when you feel it's safe for them to leave the hospital, it's like, oh, okay, good. It's safe, because most people don't get to leave the hospital.
She got to nursing home. Nursing home was closed too.
Right.
All of 2020, we never saw her. My mom got sick in January. The first time we went to hospital was January. By March, they had shut everything down. I didn't see my mom again until she went into the hospital in April of 20. She went to nursing home April of 2021. I'm sorry, April of
2020.
2020, she went to the nursing home. They then let us have a window visit in July because it was her birthday. They put her to the window and we stood outside.
That was it.
And that was the first time I saw my mom through a window for 30 minutes. We were standing outside yelling in like, "Hey, Mom!" And she don't even know what's happening. And my mom had locks when she went into the hospital. When I first saw her, it was one matted thing because they didn't know whether or not, for religious reasons, we didn't want her hair cut, so nobody would cut her hair. But because of COVID, nobody was going in and doing hair and things like that. The salons were closed at the nursing home. So literally, I saw her in July. They then did for Father's Day. No, the first time we saw her was Mother's Day. For Mother's Day, what they did was they brought everybody outside the facility and you could drive past. We had to do a drive through, like how everybody was doing, and it seemed so cute. They were doing all these drive through birthdays and things.
Like, that's not cute when the person can't even follow that you're in this vehicle going past.
And she just like, she don't even know it's us. There wasn't time, you weren't allowed to stop and be like, "Mom, I love you." We just literally drove past. And then the next time was in that window. And then the next time after that, I think was around Thanksgiving, was the first time they let us in. It was like October Thanksgiving. And I remember asking her, "Do you want me to bring a plate?" And she was like, "No." And she has not eaten at all. We went back to the hospital that next February. That's when they were just like, "Okay, we can't get her to eat anything. We're gonna have to put the tube in because she's taking no nutrients." And at this point, the only thing they can get her to consume are the baby cans of Ensure. And she don't even drink all of those because she forgets, and she feel like she already drank some, so she's not gonna drink anymore.
Yeah.
It's still the guilt that people are like, "Did you go see your mom today? Did you go see your mom today?" No, I did not, because I have to do 1,000 other things. Now, I'm grateful that you can do video calls, so I could video call her and still do my laundry or, do the dishes and talk to her. But people don't understand that when I do the video calls, my mom can read. She can't comprehend things, but she can read. So she knows that if she touches the screen, if she scrolls up, it'll say end, and she hitting it. Because end just means like she knows that word, so she hit it. So I'll be talking and then she just hang up.
That's it. You're like,
my mom can't walk, so she's in a wheelchair. And if her mind decides that she wants to go over there, she just start leaving. And I'm on the phone, I'm on the thing like, "Mom, come back real quick. Let me talk to you." And she's like, "I'll be back." and then she just leaves.
Yeah, and she don't remember to come back.
She don't remember to come back. So I'll sit there for 10 minutes waiting for her to come back. She ain't coming back. And now I feel bad if I hang up, because now I look bad because I hung up.
Because what if she does come back?
Because what if she comes back? But when I go
Yeah.
to the facility, sometimes I just have to be honest. It is hard to come into the space where she doesn't recognize me. She doesn't know me. There was a long time when I was just like feeling that, because people always go like, but she knows who you are, right? She knows who you are, right? And you're like, I don't know. And so
Right.
when you go to the nursing home, you always have to wear a name tag, right? So I was telling people she does know who I am. Well, one time I went with my daughter and she called my daughter by another daughter's name. And I said, sometimes she does that. She doesn't really know people. And I said, I don't even really know if she knows who I am. Hold on. So I took my tag off. And then I said again to my mom, what's her name? And she looked at her again and she gave a name that wasn't even my daughter's name. And my daughter looked a little sad. And I said, what's my name? And she looked and she said, where's your paper? Then I realized she doesn't know who I am. She's been reading my name. And when we're on the screen, our names are on the screen. She's calling me Danny because it says Danny. She doesn't know that I'm me. So when the paper came off, I said, oh, I dropped my paper, but what's my name again? And she gave me somebody else's name. She did not know it was me. I am not her daughter. I am a person who comes in there. And the amount of emotional effort, emotional labor that it takes to go to a place where you are familiar. And I don't know, because I haven't had it where I had to go to my mom's house, but I imagine that when you are familiar with the space and you're familiar with the face that you're seeing, but that person does not know you, to have people say to you, but she knows who you are, right? And to have to say, no, she don't know who I am. She doesn't remember that I have 5 kids. My mom, sometimes when I see her, she does know something, like something happens. So she'll tell me like, if you take me home, I can watch the kids for you, or I can take the kids to school for you. They're grown,
Yeah.
So, but then there'll be those little glimpses where you see like your mom, and then you'll be like, Mom, quit playing. Then if you know how to do, like, then like stop
Yeah.
playing and be you, like, let's go. And it's not there. And
Mhm.
my mom brings up a lot of people that she remembers. Everybody she remembers is dead. Everybody my mom remembers. She don't talk about nobody alive, but she talk about 1,000 people. She'll tell me, oh, I went to the store with, and oh, I just had to, oh, I'm going to lunch with, and none of these people are alive. She don't know me, and I don't know her. And the pressure that people put on you to keep going into that space is unfair. It's unfair.
It's very unfair. It's very unfair. I can relate to that. Like in once, because my mom does these waves. It's weird because it's like a wave. Like, I know who you are, then boom, it's a decline. I don't know who you are. I don't know who they are. And this is not my house. I need to leave. It's time for me to go. Threatening to leave the house, getting her shoes. We've had to hide shoes. We've had to hide keys. Then it got to the point where it didn't matter if she had keys. She was leaving no matter what. And she was going to her house on her street. But this is her old house. I said, you only lived in this house on this street. That's it. You've never lived anywhere else on this street before. You've never even slept anywhere else on this street before. To go in, she thought I was her mom. And I'm like, you're my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, right. Like, and that part of her is the real piece of her, that yeah, right laugh. I picked her up from the hospital probably maybe a month ago now. And she said, oh, is Deidre outside? Does she come with you to pick me up? Is she outside? And I'm like, no, Mom, she's not outside this time. That's my sister who passed away 15 years ago. I can't tell her to relive the death of her child again.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone and she thought I was talking to her brother. who passed away. We've had a series of people pass away in 2020. Only one took COVID, but for multiple reasons.
Mhm.
And you mentioned these people's names, and she's like, "Oh, are they at your house?"
Mhm.
No, they're not at my house. So then it just got to the point, like wherever they're buried, I just say they're in that city because
Okay.
that's where they live. I'm like, oh no, they're in Georgetown. They're fine. They're doing really good. They're doing really well. They're doing better than they were before. Like legit, I'm not lying about that part in my soul, like in my belief. They're doing better. So I'm not lying. And they really physically, the body is where I said it was at. Not specifically, but in that city, that's where they are. And I kind of like skirt around that conversation and go to something else because it's hurtful for me to see that she doesn't know, she doesn't remember. And it would be more hurtful to say that that person died and her have to relive that death again. Like the death itself initially was painful enough, but to have to recap and relive that again is too significant, you know? I think the hardest is like she always knows who my oldest daughter is and she knows who my son is. Now, my two younger daughters, she's always thinking she has to get home so she can get them off the school bus or get them from school. Because that was kind of her role for me, was like, I need you to be home. So whenever she gets off the school bus, I need her to be able to get into the house and blah, 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 or, you know, keep a lookout for her coming from the bus or whatever, or go pick up this one from wherever, or take her to dance class. Those are the things that brought her joy. And she goes back to those things, thinking that that's something that she has to do. But when she doesn't know me, like it's always this time of year when things are haywire. Like it's just super crazy Thanksgiving time because her initial, so the heart attack was August. That was 2018. She was in a nursing facility, couldn't remember who I was, where she was, didn't walk, stopped talking. Just stopped talking. You talk to her and she nods. And I'm like, something's not right here. Eric, oh, it's probably just dementia. I'm like, no, my mom didn't have dementia. Like that wasn't something that this wasn't even a discussion at all. So no, that's not what this is. There's something else going on with her. What is going on to the point where my nephew, my oldest nephew, came to see her. She thought he was my cousin who passed away 17 years ago. And for my nephew, that was the first time he experienced that with my mom. And he just kind of smiled. He looked at me. I said, just go with the flow of it. I hate to say holding your emotions, but you have to kind of hold, because if you start crying, then she's going to be looking at you like, what's wrong? You know, and because she cares about you, she will feel that literally to the point where my nephew had to walk away and just break down and have his moment. And all I could tell him was, it's okay. I don't know if it's okay for real, but we have to find a place of being okay with what's happening. Understanding the reality of losing them. You know, I think for a lot of people who've lost their parents and it was like sudden and they wish that they could say this and they wish they could say that. And I was like, but we have time to say these things and you still don't know what to say. What do you say? What do you ask? I'm not getting a real answer now. The hardest part is I lost my mom and she's still here.
It's so hard. That reality.
She's physically here.
I lost her. And people, they do give you that, no, your mom is still here. And
you're like, she's not. Her body's here. It's almost like me going to the grave and digging up my sister and sitting her in a chair. Her body's there. She's not there. She is not there.
And in the very beginning, when I started saying that to people, I could see on their face that they felt like I was being cold when I'm saying, that's not my mom. That is Pam.
Yeah.
Yes. Pam ain't my mom. And me and Pam, we don't know each other.
Yeah.
And people just looking like, oh my God.
How can you say that about your mother? That's still your mom. You're like, she is. She's physically, that's still her. I see her. But that's when you really learn that the communication and the contact and the love and this piece Because you can hug anybody and not feel nothing. Like somebody, okay, I hugged you, I feel nothing. You hug your mother, your whole soul is connected. You know, you hug a family member, you feel the warmth and the generation of that person and the love from that person. And it's very different than when you hug somebody you don't know. You don't give that same energy to strangers, a complete stranger. Oh, here, let me give you a hug. It's different. It's very different. And I said to my daughter last Monday, because when I had to go there, I try not to go to my mom's house too often. And people are like, her daughter hardly ever comes here. It is extreme trauma. It is extreme torture when I come here. Yes, first of all, I never know what I'm getting into when I come. So to go there last Monday, number one, I don't feel like I ever had anxiety. I got anxiety now because I'm anxious because I don't know what I'm walking into. What am I going to have to endure? I've had my mother fall out on me on the floor, you know, where we're like jumping up and, you know, picking her up and setting her in a wheelchair and checking her vitals, and all of this stuff is happening. And they're wheeling her off real quick and they're asking me a million questions. I get to her house and she's completely lethargic and she can't answer me. She can't talk and she starts throwing up. And it's like, whoa, what am I supposed to do with all this? So to go to her house for me is torture. I literally said to my daughter in tears, I don't want to be here. I said, I feel so guilty saying this, but I'm not comfortable here. Like my soul's not comfortable here. My body wants to run. I'd fight or flight. Forget fighting. I'm trying to flee. I'm trying to get away.
And I feel I really want to say that I really 100% connect to that. If you've never had anybody ever tell you that they feel what you feel, I 100% am there. We are together because
yes.
I identify with that so much. And I want to say, if nobody else has ever said it to you before, you are not wrong in that. You are not a bad daughter for that. You are not, because I've had to just talk to myself and be like, the truth just is, a lot of time I can't handle this.
Can't.
I do not.
And that's okay.
Pretend like I can for people who will not come for me. It's so many people who want to put the guilt on you and make you feel bad because, like you said, this is traumatic. Every single time that I pull up, this is a trauma for me because I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know who's in this room this time. I don't even know if she's going to be awake and alert. I've gone to that hospital. I've gone to that facility so many times and she just laying in the bed. And now I can't wake her up just to make her look at me.
Right. So because guess what? When it's time for you to leave, those workers now have to deal with whoever you just woke up.
Whoever you just woke up.
Yeah. And
you look bad. There's times when I feel like the facility is like, well, when's she gonna show up? And I'm just like, I can't come. My spirit can't handle it. And it's the holiday season now. Everybody gonna be like, where's your mom? How's she doing? What you getting her for Christmas? I'm not getting her anything for Christmas. She doesn't know any of the things. She doesn't want anything. It's not safe to leave things at a nursing home. Even though my mom is at a good one, it's not safe to leave things. But there's a guilt to be like, so I'm not going to buy her. Last year, when I would just made the decision, I'm not going to buy her a gift. I take and I decorate her room, but I do not buy gifts. But the guilt of like, nothing, she don't even know it's Christmas.
Yeah.
She doesn't know it's Christmas. She don't want a Christmas. She doesn't, so many of the trinkets that they say to use to try to help the dementia people. And my mom has never used any of those things. Her mom is not going to tell her, oh, let me try to use the puppet thing. Like, unless somebody give it to her. And then when they give it to her, she ain't interested in that right now. She don't care.
Yeah. Or she's like, and moved on. You're like, Yeah, yeah, yep,
I
yep.
brought her
I
the
know.
first year for the birthday when I was allowed in the facility. I brought her a cupcake, like, Mom, here's a cupcake. She's like, you eat it. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I have one and you have one. And she's just like,
So why you brought me that?
I don't eat food. And it's just like, but you want to take a little bit of it. Or I'm saying, like, you like tea, right? You want tea? And she's just like I went to go see her either Monday or Tuesday. Days are a little shaky still. I went to
Girl, yes.
Monday or Tuesday this week, and one of the other women, there was another woman visiting her mother, and so she's getting her mother something to drink. She's like, your mother want something? And so I said, Mom, do you want some tea? You like tea? And she was like, oh, tea, yes. The tea come. She was like, I handed it
What you give me
to
this
her.
for?
What's this for? And I said, it's your tea. I don't want tea.
Mhm.
I said, oh, okay. She was like, but you can have it. I don't want any tea. Put it on the table. She's looking at it after a while and she goes, somebody left their cup here.
Yeah, whose is that?
I said, it's your tea, Mom. Don't you want some tea? Oh, yeah. So I handed it to her and she's holding it. Just now I have to be like, take a sip, Mom. Take a sip. I'm trying to
It's
make
like,
her enjoy tea. Why? Why am I doing this? She's
mhm.
going to get no pleasure from this. It isn't going to change my day. So that I can tell somebody else, I saw my mom drink tea today. People don't get that, the trauma of that, to even to have to be like, when you leave and you're like, she don't even want to drink tea. Now that's another thing I gotta cross off the list. Sometimes I don't want to cross things off the list. I just want to live with
No,
what I had. I don't want to cross another thing she can't do, another thing she doesn't remember, another person she don't know.
yep,
I don't want to cross none of that off the list. I just want to
yep,
just just I just want to, I want to be. I
yeah, yeah.
know who I
And
know
I
going.
then you feel guilty too whenever you're like, I just want to be left alone. That's all. I don't want anybody calling me, asking me anything. I need anything. How's your mom? Well, what about this? And what about, did you try this? And did you try that? And just please, please, if it's in regard to that, please leave me alone. Please. And then for me, like, I know it's here that I need to find somewhere for her to go.
Mhm.
It's here. With that, she has a house. With that, she has bills. With that, she has her income that comes in. All of these things need to be managed. I've been managing her bills. I've been managing her house. I've been managing her health. I've been managing her. I've been managing her caregivers and that agency and the case manager and my job and my children. And I'm in school full time. So I'm managing that as well. So it's like, can I just manage the normal things, please, right now? But the guilt piece of my mom has been in the hospital and they're like, oh, well, we need to make a decision right now because your mom is being discharged today and we're going to send her to a nursing facility. And do you have anything in mind? Well, why would I have anything in mind? I've never had to deal with this before.
Yes.
Oh, well, and I don't want to just be like, oh, this one, because this one might be horrible, which it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved her from one facility into the hospital and came out the hospital, went to another facility, and it was equally as horrible. So then I took her out AMA against medical advice. I'm here, I'm taking my mother and we're leaving. Oh, that's against medical advice. Don't care, call the police, you can call whoever you want to. I'm taking my mom right now and we're leaving. My truck is out front. I'm gathering her items and we're going now. Oh, and then you ask them what medication. I'm not privy to give you that information. So you're not going to tell me if she had meds today or if any medication was changed? No, that's fine. I'm still taking her and we'll just deal with whatever comes our way. But I'm still taking her. And literally, that's what I did. took her home. She was fine for a while, months and months and months. Got another UTI, which always sends her back into the hospital. And I tell them, hey, she has a UTI. She needs IV medication. Oral antibiotics don't work for my mom. Oh no, well, we're not really comfortable with giving her. Please look in her chart. Please look in her history. Her history is going to show that we do the song and dance back and forth over and over again. So that is a fear for me to send her into a nursing facility, because then who advocates for that piece? You know, I can advocate for that piece, but then still they're saying, oh, well, we don't, and the doctor comes in 2 days. I don't have time to wait for your doctor in 2 days. My mom gets significantly, you know, she declines very fast, and then she'll become septic. And then you're just going to let her lay here and die?
Mm-hmm.
Not if I can help it.
Grateful that the facility that my mom is at was a higher grade facility, number one. Number two, the two nurses on the floor, one I grew up with, we went to church together, and the other one is the friend to one of my mom's friends. And so these people
Wow.
out for her, you know. And the other thing that I'm very grateful for is my mom's best friend religiously goes every Monday. I'm sorry, Tuesday, every single Tuesday since they opened up that facility for visitors. She is there every single week. It does not matter what else is going on. When she went on vacation, she was like, before I go on vacation, I will be there the day before. I have to change it. And when she came back, she came back because
Right back.
she was right back. But also, she has another friend who lives in Erie who religiously every Monday does a video chat with her. So these two women, every single week. The woman who goes in-house, even though I promise you it gets on my nerves, I do not like it. That she will send me text messages and be like, well, I went in there and your mom didn't have that picture. I went in there and your mom didn't. I went in there and she wasn't. I don't like that she does it, but I know for her, it is helping her as well. And I'm thankful that my mom has somebody who has the emotional labor time to give to my mom in a way that I don't, you know. I have to also say, just to be honest, my mother was not the best mother. We did not have a really good relationship until I decided, like, I'm not gonna watch this woman decline because of her. And so sometimes it also is hard for me because I'm like, we just started getting cool and she got sick. Like,
right. It's like, now why did this have to happen right now?
but this woman, they were good friends, and she has her good friend go in there and rock out with her. The facility, I still will say, to me, has been very good to her. Because my dad is in another facility. That's a whole nother story, but we had to put my dad in another facility and it is terrible. But I don't have any control over his
I
care.
can probably guess where that's at. We'll talk about that later.
We can talk about that off camera, and it is terrible. I mean, his television was stolen because he had to go to the hospital one time, and when he came back,
It's gone.
television gone. Somebody
And
stole it.
nobody knows where it's at.
Nobody has
It
a
walked off.
clue what happened to it. And my dad can't talk. He literally can't speak at all. He had strokes, and the strokes have taken his ability to speak or talk. Or move. So he's immobile and nonverbal now. So when things happen, it's not like he could pick up a phone or send a text message, or because he can't. We couldn't even give him a phone. Before he got in the facility, he had a iPad that he could speak with. Well, you can't keep the iPad at the facility. They steal everything. And nobody was charging it. When they first got there, they thought that they could use it, but then you got to rely on, because he can't move really, you have to rely on staff to charge it. Well, my dad is mean. He is very mean. He's always been very mean. And this illness has not humbled him at all. It makes you, it makes you even more ornery because you can't do things. And now that he's in a nursing home, he's really upset. And so mean person, they not running in there trying to do nice things for him. And he, but I'm grateful that my mom does not have to be at that facility.
Right, right.
Have been very good to her, and to me in these past 2 years. But everybody don't get that. A lot of these facilities are really bad. They are really bad.
And it's like, who's overseeing this? You know this is happening. You all know this is happening. You know, why are you allowing this to go on? And I understand that they're overworked and underpaid. But at the end of the day, you are dealing with somebody's life. So no matter how overworked or underpaid, all of us are overworked and underpaid, and or have been at some point in our lives, in our career. But when you're dealing with someone's life, and I think what people forget is at some point you're going to have somebody you care about in this situation, and you're going to wish to God that people would take care of them how you want them to be taken care of, not how the person wants to do it, but how you want them to be cared for.
It is
When
a
you,
hard place to be. And you
yes, and I have,
the people who, I get it, the nurses and the aides don't have control over a lot of things, but the people who run these facilities, when you go in and they look depressing when you walk in, the walls look terribly depressing when you walk in, they put them in these rooms and there's nothing that's going on.
and
That
the smell.
also, the smell, all those things also wear on your psyche when you have to go visit. And
Yes.
you have to prepare yourself when you pull up into the parking lot. There's also already a wave of emotion that comes over you, and then
Yep.
you go in and you have to sign into a place, and you have to be official to go see your mom or dad, and you have to, I'll tell you this, one of the things, I don't know her room number, I just go over
Just
there.
go.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
people like,
Mm-hmm.
what
You're
room?
like, it's remote.
I
I
don't know.
just go.
When
I
you
know
go
where
on
I'm
the
going.
third floor, you go up the steps, you go to the left, you go down the hall. I know that there's a sign on the wall that say Mr. is the name of the person next to her. I don't know the room number. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So when I come in and you want me to sign a paper and it's like, what room? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't.
Upstairs to the left.
I'm just gonna write a name down. Y'all figure it out. It
Yep.
The facility situation and finding one, it is very hard, and it's hard to have to say this is the step that we have to take, because I have to do so many things now. I get it, because your children are younger. I can't do, I have to work, I can't do this all day. I can't, there's no way that I could do, I can't quit my job. I can't tell my kids they can't go nowhere no more. So I could be in this house 24 hours a day to take care of my parent. I can't do that. Now, my children, like I said, were older, but I still have to go to work. They didn't have jobs that could stay in my house.
Right.
And
Yes.
it is not fair to tell these 20-year-olds, you have to now live your life to support me and your grandma. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that, so that I can take care of your grandma. You have to do nothing, go get some overtime somewhere, find a second job for me, or I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. Second or third job. Yeah.
People like, well, but they'll pay you to take care of your parent.
That statement. And you're like, okay, so I'm living in this nightmare already outside of going to work. And you want me to live in it 24/7, because what they'll tell you is, oh yeah, we'll pay you to take care of your parent. When do I not have my parent? When do I not have her?
Because you can get a babysitter for your kids.
Your kids grow up and become independent.
Kids, that there is a timeline on the kids.
Yes. With them, it's like
they start to become teenagers and they start I'm about to go stay over my friend's house. I'm about to go. I'm gonna go with my cousin. Your parent ain't never gonna do that, and there is no time frame on this. This could be 5 years. This could be 25 years.
yeah. And at what point do you live?
When do you live in? And so I had the surgery in 2021, right? My youngest child last week turned 21. I have been a mother longer than I have been an adult. We both know that, right? We know that life. Like before I was even in charge of my own self, I was in charge of somebody else. I'm just now in a place where I feel like living is allowed for me, for me. It sounds selfish, but I don't have it to give up. I just came out of full-time care with these kids. I don't I
My
don't
baby is 11, Danny.
girl.
11.
It's
Not
just
even a teenager yet.
like I might could send you somewhere and not completely worry at 11. Like
Because you can tell me what you're doing. You can text me. You can FaceTime me. They're like, why don't you let your mom live with you?
I can't do it.
First of all, where's she going? Or where am I going? If she takes my room, where am I going?
Right.
I'm going to the living room. I'm going to the game room, I guess. For how long? How
Because
long do I
everybody got
live like
this
that?
cute little fantasy of like the Willy Wonka two granddads sleeping in the dining room thing. It don't work. Because I got all these other
Yeah.
people who got to move and groove in here, and these kids, they
Yep.
friends come over, they doing things, they got things going on. I can't set grandma up in the dining room. I can't do it. The bathroom upstairs. I would still need to get her up there, or we got to wash her in the dining room. And then what happens for our holiday meals, and what happens for a gathering for us? We don't have a table anymore. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody don't have a 7-bedroom house where we can just put her over here, and everybody doesn't have the income to remodel the house that we can put an extra bathroom down here. And everybody, it doesn't work that way. In your minds, you people who are listening, who need to understand this, that is a fantasy world. The reality is that you are asking us to give up our whole entire lives, because ain't no more brunch, ain't no more going to a show, ain't no more, there isn't any more of that when you decide to bring them into your home and become their 24-hour care. That is 24 hours. People do not come over and watch your sick mom.
No.
Nobody says, oh, well, I can sit with your mom for now. I have a friend who literally did that for somebody else, and it was amazing. She took a week off of her job to go sit with her friend's mother who has dementia. And I thought, when I tell you that was the epitome of love, I have never seen love in such a way, that this woman took off a week from her own job to go sit so this woman could go do something for her job for a week with this mother. She had never dealt with dementia before. She doesn't have experience in it, and was willing to go and do it anyway. No, that is the first and only time I've ever seen that happen, ever.
And you'll probably never see it again.
Never see it again. People do not offer to come help you. My mom been in that nursing home since 2020. It is almost 2023. I have never had anybody say they will come with me. I have never had anybody. I go alone every time.
And that's the scary part right there, because you're alone. That word right there, you're like, I'm alone. I'm literally in, like I said, last Monday, during my 2-hour cry, and I'm sitting at the dining room table and I'm looking out the window, and I just allowed myself to go ahead and cry, because I was like, you're holding this in, but you're just making yourself sick right now. And I'm sitting there and I'm just looking out the window, and a car pulls up in front of the house. And that's when I really started to cry, because it was my daughter. Who's supposed to be on her way to work. She said, I had to come over here to check on you, Mom, because I knew you weren't okay. So you can tell your kids all day long, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. I'm all right. They know. They know you're not okay. So she came, and I just cried and cried. And she's really like, she's emotional. I think I'm more emotional than she is, but even she was crying in this moment. And I was like, when do I get to live? That's my question. I went from my sister being sick and being the runner for her, because she depended on me. Although my mom was there, my mom and my sister's relationship wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
So of course my sister depended more on me than she would with my mom. So I'm young, and my daughter was not even born at one point. And then when I had her, it was nothing changed. It was like I'm still the primary person for my sister. Now I'm a mom at the same time. And there were gaps when she was well, but it was still calling the hospital and being a teenager and having to be put in this role where you have to be like the adult and authoritative with medical professionals. And, so I went from being the sister who was the caregiver to a mother. And then I had multiple children. And then my sister passes because I'm still caregiving for my sister, not like how I am with my mom, but it was a lot. And then now, I'm a mother of 4, and then my mom gets sick, and now I'm still a mother now of still 4. My daughter's an adult, but I still have 3 minor children. And now my mom is significantly sick. And my dad is sick too. He just doesn't live here. So I still have to be in tune with what's going on with him. He's just further away. So when I see him, it's like, okay, you're sicker than I thought you were, because I'm seeing this and nobody,
And then even when you get to go and do some things, they not that fun, because
you're waiting for that call.
Especially on the day, like when you go visit your parent, it's like, well, first of all, you thought you got cute, you would thought you was having a thing. As soon as you get to the car with a person, or you get to the place with a person, the first thing they say is, how's your mom? I don't want to talk about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
How am I? You didn't even ask me that. You don't. Nobody's going. The one person who talks to my mom on the video phone has always said, this must be very hard. I don't know how you're doing this. This has to be very hard for you. She is the only person who has ever mentioned it. I've had friends who are just kind of like, you're just so strong. And I always say, like, that is such a disrespectful thing. I am not strong. I am very weak right now. And you are not allowing me to be so. And that is hurtful to me, because I'm not so strong. You just can't see me weak because you haven't given a space to make it safe for you to see that. I am breaking down even as we speak right now.
Yeah.
I have to get myself away from you so I can get in the car and cry, because I don't want to talk about this right now. I was trying to get cucumbers at this grocery store. I don't want to talk about my mom right now, and I don't want to be mean to you. But I really just came in here because I thought I was going to make a good meal for myself. And now I can't even enjoy that today because you brought my mom into my meal. And now not only am I hurt, but I'm angry, and I can't lash out at you.
Yep. Because you're an innocent bystander in this.
And so where do I release it? I keep on saying I think that I really want to create a scream room, because I just feel like I think that a lot of people just need to come in and yell it the hell out, because this I literally have an emotional support dog. Like, let me just show you. She sits right.
Oh, and she is right there.
I got in 2020. She does not leave my side. Like, and when I leave the house, she has a little anxiety because she has been there I got her in 2020 because I didn't know what else to do. And I was like, maybe if I get an emotional support animal, then it'll help with my anxiety. It really does, because she be right on me. And
that's my daughter's dog. She's my grand dog.
Whenever I do one of these interviews, if I'm at home and I'm doing one of these interviews, it's like she knows, like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of stress right here. She be on my body. I have to have something, because in 2020, you wasn't getting no therapist. Like, everybody was going through so much. Finding a therapist was just like, you ain't going to find one. And a Black therapist,
if you didn't have your therapist before then, you're out of luck. You are out of luck.
And so, like, this whole, when am I going to be able to live, 100% identify with 100%. I just want to say it because I want you to know that you aren't alone. We really do have a community.
Yes.
we just don't know that the community exists because as Black women, it has not been allowed to say, where are the people who feel
Mm-hmm.
like this? Because the
Mm-hmm.
people look at you like, wow, how dare you say that? How dare push
Mm-hmm.
push through and pray. I pray.
Yeah. Yes.
I pray and I
Yes.
still am traumatized. Those two
Yes.
things are true. I believe in God and I still am traumatized when I see my mama. Those two things
Yeah.
are true at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And it just I first of all, I just also want to say I thank you for sharing your story with me and for anybody else who's listening because
Thank you for having me.
spaces, I just try to create these spaces for the opportunity to one, release some of what we hold on to all the time and
Huh?
places to let it go. And then also to help somebody else who's going through this to know like when you feel these things, you're not bad. You are not a bad person. This is human. You are a human.
Yes.
You have human feelings. You don't want to always have to do. We don't always want to be parents. It's some days when we just wake up and look at the kids and be like,
Like,
no.
go somewhere else.
Oh, I don't want to be responsible for none of this stuff here. I don't want
Yes.
my money to go to groceries. I don't want
Yes.
I don't want my money to go to getting your hair done. Like I don't want,
Yes.
I don't want to pay for the football shoes today. Like, and all of that, like, it's like how much they cost? Like, no, I wanted to go
Yeah.
see a play or a movie or a show. I
Yeah.
wanted to buy a
Or I
dress.
just want to go out of town.
I just
Just
want
a
to
minute.
that all those things that doesn't mean that we hate our children. It just means
Right.
that the
I need a break.
me inside of me wants a break, and
Yes.
that's okay too. It is okay to have moments and days, and even for the people who are lucky enough to get the week vacation, weeks of I just want to just be who I am,
And
and,
that's it.
and that's it.
Let it just be that. I know. And then, I mean, and for the people who have or are working with agencies, I know for me, the hardest part is having consistent workers.
Mhm.
When they call off, the agency could care less. They're not looking for somebody else to cover that shift. They're not. They say they are, but they are not looking for someone to cover that shift. They're like, oh, well, it's on the family. Let her go take care of her mom. Let her go get her mom. Let her daughter go get her mom. Why don't she take her mom to her house? And you're like, I wish that you could trade with me for one of these events. Like I just got one of the workers said, I'm not working Thanksgiving because I have kids. And I'm like, hmm. Any job that I had where you had to work on a holiday, I worked because I did have kids and I needed to feed them. I get people wanting to be off, but can you give adequate time? Like you knew a long time ago that you wanted to be off on Thanksgiving. Why did you wait 3 days before Thanksgiving to say you want to be off when your shift is 8 to 8? Which means if I'm getting my mom and I need to cook, that means how? How do I do this? Because I can't be at her house at 8 o'clock in the morning because she's not up yet. I don't know how compliant she's going to be on that day to get her up, get her dressed, get her fed, get her in the car, get her to my house. And I still have to cook.
And then
It could have been a thing of, hey,
they also have, sometimes a breakdown because this ain't their space, you know?
yes, yes. My mom will say, well, whose house is this? Is this your house? It's my house, mom. When did you move here?
Yeah. My mom
I don't
doesn't
remember
even
you living
say,
here.
where are you at? What is that? Did you move? No,
Yes.
nope, been here. This is the same color wall all the time. Oh, okay. Well, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
Yeah. And then
That
imagine where they are. It's girl, I could go on forever.
I know, I know, I know. I just so I love to again, this space is always created for the conversations. I love this. These are always helpful. The one thing I do know is that
Yes.
they're always helpful to the people who I have conversation with and to the people who listen. And it's always helpful. There's always somebody who reaches out to me and goes, "Oh my goodness. I didn't even notice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Anybody, any questions? I'm on social media. You could look me up. I mean, I'm not under my name.
Do you want to give a social media page that somebody might reach out to you? You can go ahead on.
I'm on Facebook. My name is spelled RAWNNAY. It's not Ronnie Austin how it is on here, but any questions, I'm open to any questions. I'm open to just listen, because a lot of times that's what we need, is just for somebody to listen to what we're going through. I don't have to tell my story to you. I can listen to your story and be encouraged from your story or gain knowledge from their story. They can do the same, from mine. So I'm open. I know what it feels like. There's like I said, I could be on here forever to talk about just within my 4-year snippet, or even within the last 6-month snippet of things that have transpired. And I'm open. I will say that. So send me a message on Messenger. I will try to see it. I'm kind of slow on Messenger sometimes, but definitely open to communicating and, fellowshipping with some folks and, being a support to whoever may possibly need it, because I know what it feels like.
So we're back. This is my favorite part of my show all the time. It kind of like it's like a cool down for your brain. Everything that I do in my world is revolves around music. I don't do anything without music. I can't. Before I start these, I always have to play music. When I'm done to de-stress myself, I play music. Before I can pull off in the car, I have to get a song in that works right for me. And anytime like I get stressed out, there's a song to play. So like I said, I never really had a really good relationship with my dad, although I grew up with him. But one of the things that we did connect on was music. We connected a lot on music. And I know that it's always been told to me that from the time I was little, my dad always sang to me. He had a great singing voice. So whenever I get stressed, my dad used to sing Stevie Wonder songs to me. So whenever I start to get stressed, Stevie Wonder plays like elevator music in my head, right? So I always ask people at the end of the show, what is a song or two that you feel like speaks to you? It doesn't have to be a favorite song. I never ask about a favorite song, because in every season, every moment, the song changes. Music come out all the time, so the song may change of what's my favorite right now. But what do you feel like either represents you or speaks to you right now?
It represents me is probably Me Against the World with Tupac.
Okay.
Honestly.
And I'll take it.
Honestly, because that's what it feels like a lot. But wow. Oh, I'm a music person too. And anytime anybody asks me about music, it's like, I don't know, but when it comes on, I can sing it for you. I can sing it for you.
I get a lot of people who say that, like, I don't know the names of songs, but I can sing it for you. But you gave me one, and that works unless you have anything else you feel in.
Nah.
These things. So I'm very grateful. I'm thankful. I know you at work, so I'm gonna let you go, but I appreciate your time. It is very much appreciated.
Welcome.
And
thank you, Tammy.
We're going to talk offline about the facilities and things like that. If you got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Yes.
Absolutely, because I will help in whatever way. And again, you guys, this will be up. You can look up Renee's Instagram or Facebook. You're on Facebook, right? Look up Renee. The link will be down in the bio for that. So okay, from now on, we just say bye. I close it out later on in editing, but thank you so much. Have a good day.
I will. You too. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay. As you could tell, this one hit really close to home, but with all the conversations, I have a wonderful time. You learn so much, you know so much. And again, make sure that you are sharing this with your friends, your family, your coworkers, because you never know what people are going through. Sometimes we don't even know people are going through these
situations until we share an episode like, oh my goodness, look what I heard. And then people be like, oh yeah, that was my mom, that was my sister, that was my cousin. And then that starts conversation. And if you have been listening to these episodes, you know this is all about having conversation, having connection, creating communities. So check us out on Instagram, check us out on TikTok, and make sure that you're subscribing, because we here every week having these conversations and I don't want you to miss any. So subscribe, and again, share. I'll see you next week. As always, you've been listening to me, Danny, at the JusSayin Podcast. Bye.